Jumping into the number 5 spot of the top 5 best budget microphones is the Samsung Meteor, coming in at a price tag of $29.98. If you guys want to check out any of the 5 mics in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But let's talk about this microphone, the Samsung Meteor. Each spot, like this one, will be recorded on the microphone that, well, is in its place. We'll also back-to-back compare them at the end of the video, so stick around for that. But the mic quality on the Samsung Meteor, what you're hearing right now, it's impressive, especially considering the build quality, but we'll get to that. It's overall a pretty balanced sound, but it's on the muddier side with those trebles. However, the compact size and portability definitely can make up for that, and you can definitely do some EQ corrections in post. I'll actually do that now. This is what it sounds like without any EQ corrections in post, and this is what it sounds like with some EQ corrections. That'll kind of bring up the trebles a little bit, so yeah. Now, even though the mic quality isn't as good as the other mics on the list, this is still one of my favorite budget microphones of all time because of the build quality, the portability, and ease of setup. It's extremely easy to take this out, pop it down, especially because of this design. Those are the little feet. So cool. All right, but the noise floor out of the box, you're probably gonna be like, oh my gosh, this thing sounds terrible, and it does. And that's because the gain is set pretty dang high. Once you adjust that down, the noise floor is actually pretty good. Take a listen. That is how it sounds. Now, all this being said, the Meteor does struggle with louder rooms. So if you have a lot of like background stuff going on in your room, this one is definitely going to be more prone to picking that up. So studio environments are better, or just quieter environments. So yeah, definitely something to consider. Now, the build quality here though is the best on the list. No questions about it. This is entirely made of metal, including the mounting location. It's hyper portable due to its design and the feet design that actually fold up. Overall, this feels like a way more expensive mic than it is, especially in this chrome finish, which I love. Even though this is an ultra budget mic, if you're looking for a mic to travel with, this thing is durable. It'll most likely last you an extremely long time without having to baby it or worry about it. You can also get this in tons of different colorways, which obviously the chrome is my favorite. As for accessories, this comes with a mini USB to USB cable and a velour carrying pouch. As for onboard controls, this has a headset volume wheel and then a mic mute button, and that is it. For inputs, you also get a 3.5mm headphone jack for monitoring, which is nice. Overall, this has good mic quality, a phenomenal build, best on the list for portability, making it a top choice for an ultra budget traveling mic. But with that, let's jump into the number 4 spot. And this is the Mayano DGM20, coming in at a price tag of $29.99, and well, it's right here. Now, mic quality here is pretty true to life. I mean, definitely more on the budget side, but definitely doesn't skew towards the bass heavy, and it's definitely not overly crisp. It does have a drop off on the trebles, again, similar to the Meteor. However, if you can find this thing on sale cheaper than it is, which it does go on sale, then it's a heck of a mic. And if you like RGB, well, I mean, look at it. The noise floor here is also very good, better than 70% of mics in this price point. With that, take a listen to it. Yeah. All that being said, besides RGB, this has the worst build quality on the list. The only metal here is the pop filter and the metal grill, and the weight at the bottom of the stand, obviously. However, everything else here is a very cheap feeling plastic that will probably not be able to take abuse of traveling. So if you're thinking about traveling with this mic, think again. Just get the Meteor if you're thinking about traveling and you're on an ultra budget price point. I mean, that's my recommendation. However, I think this would be completely fine in a studio environment, and for me personally, the build quality is a non-issue. As for accessories, besides that shock mount stand, you get a pop filter, a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable that also has a USB Type-A adapter, which is nice to have, as well as a mount for a boom arm. But though I will note with that mount, it is still a plastic mount, so you definitely don't want to cross-thread, because then that will make it, well, not usable. For onboard controls, there are 2, and they're up here. They're touch sensitive. This one will change the RGB. As you can see, it's very responsive. It works well. And then there is a mic mute switch, which is right here, which you'll see right now. All right, then besides that, for controls, you have a mic gain on the bottom, which I will turn up. This is actually its lowest gain, and I'll turn it up, and it's probably getting too loud. I'll start whispering and then turn it way up because it'll be really, really loud. This is with the gain all the way up. So yeah, it's nice to have those onboard controls. You also get a USB Type-C and a 3.5mm connection for headphones. But with that, let's move on to the number 3 spot. This is where they start to get really good. In the number 3 spot is the Movo UM700. The mic we're listening to right now and the price point did not used to be this cheap, because I've had this mic for quite a while now. It is now $24.95. Check links below for current pricing, but I think it's going to stay at that $24.95 price tag. You can listen to it. You can hear just how dang good this sounds for basically 25 bucks. That's really impressive. Now, the really interesting thing with this is you can actually set the pickup patterns to a lot of different ones. I think the best one for voices is the super cardioid pickup pattern. That's just what sounds the best to me. So that's what it's set in now, and that's what I did all the tests with when comparing them to all the other mics that we chose to put on the list and all the ones that didn't make it on the list. Now, while using this pickup pattern, the noise floor here is exceptionally low. Now, while this is definitely not muffled, I would not consider this to be on the brighter side at all. And because of this, it's a little bit less true to life. Now, EQ tuning in post is definitely possible. In fact, I actually used this mic way back when, years ago, when it was in a much higher price point. And I actually use this for videos. It's good enough if you can do some EQ tuning in post to use this for YouTube videos, for sure. Now, like I said, at this price point, I mean, this has like one of the lowest noise floors you can get. Take a listen for yourself. Yeah. That's impressive. But build quality here, similar to the Meteor, but in a different way, it is unfathomably good here for a mic of this size and price. That's because this mic wasn't always this price, like I said. The stand here is completely metal. The body is metal. The mounting location is metal. The grill is metal. Now, with all that being said, unlike the Samson, this doesn't really look that pretty, and it is by far the biggest and heaviest mic on the list. So while it's actually, I think, the cheapest on the list, and it's got great build quality, really good build quality, it's also, well, it's pretty large. This is just like the top half of it. And it's very heavy. And so traveling with it's not great. But if you're starting like a podcast, like I would genuinely start a podcast with this $25 mic, which is super impressive. So if you want to start a podcast, have 4 people on there, you're looking at like $100 for 4 mics that sound this good and have a low noise floor, which you want for something like podcast. That's really, really impressive here. So I think this mic makes a lot of sense for a lot of people, but for traveling, I just wouldn't do it. Now, for accessories, this comes with a foam windscreen as well as a micro USB to USB Type A cable. For onboard controls, this has a gain knob, which is super nice to have, a knob to toggle between the pickup patterns, a mic mute button, and a headset volume knob. All of these controls are really great to have on the actual mic itself. This does not feel like a budget mic. As for inputs, this also has the 3.5mm headphone jack and a micro USB for, well, its connection. Overall, being the cheapest mic on the list, I think most people will be shocked at how good the mic quality is here. While it's a little unwieldy for traveling, if you're doing like starting a podcast, starting maybe like gaming commentary, if you're not shooting your face because it's a little big, I don't know. For a lot of people, $25 is really easy. And for the mic quality that's this good, while not the best on the list, is dang good for $25. With that, let's move on to the number 2 spot. In the number 2 spot is the HyperX SoloCast, coming in at a price tag of $34.98. Mic quality here is, well, the second best on the list. This is overall very well balanced, not skewed to being super bass heavy or super bright. And I really, really like that about it. Now, the one con here is that it needs a pop filter. That's literally the only thing you need. If you can get a pop filter for this, you might notice during these louder points, it needs a pop filter. Now, to most people, this will sound great. Like to a lot of people, it'll sound excellent. The only thing it really lacks here for, well, this price point that some of the other ones, maybe the number 1 spot, gives is picking up those more subtle, crisper, trebly sounds. It just doesn't have the depth that the number 1 spot, which I will say is a standout option and is surprising. This is still great. It just doesn't have that depth that number 1 spot has, that you do tend to get in higher priced microphones. Still, overall, very impressive, and it has good build quality, and it's HyperX. Now, noise floor here, while it's pretty quiet, is not quite as good as the Movo UM700 or the number 1 spot, but it's still good. But don't take my word for it though, take a listen to the noise floor test. That is how it sounds. For the build quality, the SoloCast has a really good fit and finish, with the mic itself being a good mix between plastic and metal, with a very high quality feeling metal grill. While this does come with a plastic stand that doesn't feel super high quality, it should be noted that the mounting location is fully metal, which is impressive. For included accessories, this only comes with a USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable, and that's all you get. You're gonna be happy with it. Now, as for onboard controls, there is a mic mute switch up here that if I tap that, blah, 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 blah. There, that's what it does. But for any other controls, there are none. And for inputs, there is a USB Type-C, and that is all there is. But with that, let's move on to the number one best ultra budget microphone, which is the Fifine Ampligame, coming in at a price tag of $34.99. This mic is freaking impressive. Just listen to it. Unexpectedly, this mic blew me away. The quality here, which is what obviously you're hearing right now, is better than plenty of $60 to even $120 microphones. That's just stupid good. Like, how does Fifine do this? Fifine has a lot of great microphones, but in this price category, you're not going to beat the Ampligame. It has great clarity without being overly sharp. Bass notes in your voice are also pretty dang accurate, like surprisingly so. And the overall sound profile, while don't expect like studio grade, very, very expensive, is very, very accurate and lifelike. And that's something that a lot of microphones in these price points just don't accomplish. Now, where I expected this microphone to completely fall short, it just doesn't. The noise floor is what I expected this to just, well, be bad, but it's just not. Take a listen. It's great. It's really, really good. Now, build quality here is very similar to the Mayano, almost being entirely made of plastic. That being said, this does have a metal tripod, and while this is definitely not as well suited as some of the others on the list for something like traveling, if your pure overall priority is sound quality at the cheapest price possible while still being impressively good, just listen to it. By the way, none of the mics, unless I say, are adjusted in EQ. This is just raw files. This absolutely brings it and is personally what I would buy in this price range if I was going for a studio microphone. As for included accessories, other than the shock mount, you get a pop filter and USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable. For onboard controls, there is a touch-sensitive mic mute button on the top and then a gain knob on the bottom, and that's really nice to have. The gain is also very, very sensitive, so you can turn it way the heck up or down. Very nice to have on a microphone in this price point, which not all of them do have that. As for the inputs, besides the USB Type-C, there are no other inputs. Overall, if you want the best mic quality possible in an ultra-budget price range, this is shockingly good, and the sound that's produced here is anything but budget sounding. But again, if you want to check out any of the 5 mics in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But this is Consumer Tech Review, and I'll see you guys in the next video. The noise floor is actually pretty good. Take a listen. That is how it sounds. With that, take a listen to it. Yeah, take a listen for yourself. Yeah, that's impressive. Take a listen to the noise floor test. That is how it sounds. Take a listen. It's great. It's really, really good.